Welcome to this week's podcast episode. I have brought on Brandon Labella. Brandon, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here and share my story to the listeners and see how we can motivate and inspire and educate others to be the best possible version of their authentic selves.
So can you give us a little background? Where are you from? What do you do?
Sure. So I'm from New York. I'm 23. I just graduated college, and I've been fortunate enough to have a lot of really good activities. I studied finance at William & Mary, so I worked at IBM. I worked at NASA. And my latest project was being an author of a new book called The Journey of Failing Freely, which is all about how to educate and inspire others to live a life that they're mentally and physically healthy, that they're getting out of their comfort zone, they're spreading kindness and they're spreading love, and how to fail properly in a sense that is not at the expense of making other people feel unworthy or harming other people, but rather failing up, which means learning every single day, growing every single day, surrounding themselves with the right people, and just becoming the best possible version of themselves and giving them a chance to thrive in this beautiful world. So that's what the book's about. And I'm super excited to get that out in a couple of weeks on Amazon. And yeah, so that's been my project, my baby, the last 3 months. And now I'm kind of taking the next step of the journey, and it's kind of unknown as we speak right now, but lots of good things and developments are happening in terms of speaking events. So we'll see what happens. And I'm super excited to see what the next step is.
Well, and huge congrats to publishing a book, because I've only just submitted mine to the publisher, but I understand it's a long process and it's being vulnerable and open, and hopefully your story definitely inspires others.
I appreciate it. Yeah, and it's definitely one of those things where if you're looking for delayed gratification, definitely go to writing the book, because you never know when it's going to come out, and some of it is out of your control, but you do your best, and when it comes out, it just, for me, has completely changed my life, even more than the experiences that I had, because I've learned so much about me and so much about life, and just through that process of writing a book. So I'm so excited for you just to embark on this journey. It's going to be a long, fun, fulfilling road. So just can't wait. And we'll have to have you on the podcast when your book comes out. So.
For sure. So the reason I brought you on is when we had a previous discussion, one, even being at 23, you're, I think, way beyond your years, extremely mature. I feel like you've had so much life experience, which I believe a lot of that is through travel. But if you could give a little background story on, I know you kind of launched out and have done all these travels, but talk about your experience in South Africa.
Yeah, sure. So it was so funny. So I was kind of going down this whole like corporate path and just maybe doing corporate finance, maybe doing investment banking, but really kind of doing really, really hard schoolwork at William & Mary and just working my butt off all the time. So when it came to March, before the summer internship, I had 2 kind of quality opportunities at JP Morgan and Deloitte, and I got to the final round of both, and I didn't get either of the internships. So I did my best. I definitely could have excelled in those positions, but didn't get the job. So instead of just being like very angry or being down on myself, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to make the best of this summer, and I'm going to kind of travel the world and kind of find myself. And in the meantime, I was working for a startup that raised money for charity, so I could do that remote. So when I got to South Africa, I think that was the 3rd or 4th country that I was in. I started in Israel, then I went to Greece and Italy, and then South Africa. That's when I had this crazy experience at Table Mountain, where I basically climbed. It was the last day of the trip, and we had already had an epic trip. Me and my buddy who I met there, I lost my luggage on the first day. The airport lost my luggage, so I didn't have any luggage in South Africa, and I ended up meeting this other American. His name was Trent. Most amazing guy you'll ever meet. And he basically took me, and he's like, you should stay at my hotel. Like, we'll do this whole trip together, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, let's just go with the flow here. I don't have any luggage, whatever. So the first day we went on this Lion's Head mountain and climbed this sunrise, and he'd never climbed a mountain in like 10 years. And it was the most epic experience for both of us, because he didn't even know that it was a mountain, and he hadn't climbed a mountain, but it was 20,000 feet in the air, and it was just a crazy experience. It was the most fulfilling experience for him. So after that, he was just like, wow, this is enough. This was the best experience, but I can't do Table Mountain. So I was doing Table Mountain alone. It was cold. It was rainy. It was not like Lion's Head Mountain. And I got lost for 2 hours. I went up the Easy Pass. I was listening to Lewis Howes's podcast. I forget what it was on exactly, but when I went on the way down like the back mountain, I was like, well, that was too easy. I'm going to take the hard path, the Indian investor route. And that, of course, led to this crazy spiraling of events where after an hour, I was hanging off these cliffs, like following these very like blurry yellow footsteps. And by like hour 2, when I went down to the bottom, there was no bottom. Like there was no way I was getting down, first of all. And all that kind of these cliffs that I was hiking down, I had to hike back up. And as soon as I kind of took a deep breath, I ate a granola bar, ate a banana, and got back up to the top 2 hours later, real cool and composed. And I saw that sign to make sure that I was alive and that I made it. I ran into this guy from Tanzania, and his name was Christian. And basically every single, like, as soon as I hit eyes with him, I started chasing after him. I didn't know what happened, but I started chasing after him. And he wasn't very, like, he didn't want to talk at all. And I started being like, hey, like, listen, like, I want to learn about you. I want to learn this, learn that. And we ended up talking for 3 hours. He ended up opening up to me. He lived under a log in South Africa. He was from Tanzania. He wanted to be a professional soccer player in Europe. But the main thing that he was telling me about is just his life and how he climbs up this mountain 6 hours a day, runs up and down, and he works at a nightclub at night and just gets like treated poorly by all the people who are going out. And he was just telling me about his life, and he was telling me about my life, and I was telling him about how I go out and drink a lot. And it was about fear. It was about love. It was about suffering. It was about every single thing about just what I was missing in life and what he lived life for. And that's when I realized that no matter where you are, no matter what your status is, no matter what, like where you come from, all that matters is that, one, you're properly educated. And that's the foundation of everything, because whether you're a homeless guy in Tanzania or you're a rich guy with a yacht in Italy, it doesn't matter, because you have the power every day to wake up and fulfill yourself and provide meaning and live mentally and physically healthy. So that's kind of where I kind of had this crazy shift that I was just wasting away all my life on the weekends and have any purpose and meaning. And that's when I kind of really shifted with Soga and just my life, and I completely stopped drinking. And that was kind of the biggest awakening for me.
And for those that don't know, Soga is actually where we met. But Soga is School of Greatness. It's an online program for entrepreneurs and whatever through Lewis Howes. But I want to touch on this whole, you had this aha, this epiphany moment at the top of Table Mountain after this rainstorm, getting lost and meeting this man. And so you came home. How old were you then? Like 22?
Yeah, 22.
So you came home. I mean, a fresh college graduate, partying is kind of a generation thing. That's what everybody does. So how did you go from raging and partying and drinking and whatever on weekends to like, hey guys, I don't want to do that anymore?
Yeah, no. So it really had to come within myself. I could never spend time with myself and was always whatever, going to the beach, playing golf, going out, raging, whatever you want to call it. And when I came back home, I really sat down and I said, I can't have any influences around me besides myself. So I basically just shunned and just didn't talk to anyone. Basically, like, people probably thought I was like really like mentally ill or something, but I basically was at home and I just did me and I didn't talk to anyone. And that's kind of this whole process that I talk about, is that we kind of wake up as a kid and we're so free and we want to do this, we want to do that. And then all of a sudden we keep adding all these layers onto us and we don't even know what happened to us. And the only way to really get back to that, to figuring out ourselves, is by just getting rid of everything and starting from scratch and starting back like free as a kid and shedding off all those layers. So for me, it was stopping drinking. For me, it was stopping hanging out with friends. For me, it was just kind of taking a backseat and saying no to everything and basically not saying yes to anything besides hanging out with my family or maybe having a couple of phone calls with my best friends. But that's kind of where I kind of shifted this saying. And it was the biggest shock in the world, because then you're thinking, wow, I have like 40 hours a week of doing like just emptiness of things to do. And whether I was doing that, whether it was creating my podcast, whether it was writing the book, whether it was cooking allergy safe food, whatever it may be, or whether it was running and training for the marathon, it was mind blowing how much time I had on my hands and how poorly my time management was before that, because it was just either grinding or going out. And then now it turned out to be, wow, like, what do I even do in my life? And sometimes you feel alone and you feel crappy because like everyone else is, they're going out and they're having all these Snapchats and you're at home and you're like, wow, I'm eating a grilled chicken salad here. Like, well, how is this impacting my life? when you start reading these books and you start really surrounding yourself with the right people and having meaningful conversations and continue to grow while everyone else is just staying stagnant, that's when you really see that long-term happiness and not that kind of short-term gratification that I used to yearn and crave. So I think that was the big shift for me. And it couldn't have been the best decision of my life, because now I've started to kind of get back. This is that was in July or August, and now it's March. So this is 6 months later or something. Now I'm finally getting to kind of re-add the layers on in the right way that I want them to. And once again, it's not like there's anyone who's negatively impacted my journey. Everyone is part of my journey for a reason, and I love all of them, and I'm so thankful for them. But it's just, in order to be my best self, I needed to kind of rebuild those layers to what would make me happy and what could allow me to be myself, because I was pleasing out so many other people and not being who I really was, just being the best possible version of someone else.
I think more or less what you're saying is stepping back away from all the noise and the hustle and the bustle, and kind of coming back, figuring out your priorities, taking care of you, because I'm all about, like, if your cup isn't full, then you can't be there for other people. And also the whole FOMO, fear of missing out, I no longer feel that. Like I when I have the FOMO and I go out, let's say on a Friday night, to meet up with people, because I'm thinking, gosh, I am kind of isolated. Maybe I should go to this happy hour. And I go, I'm like, I would have been fine at home.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And I think that it actually is the other way now. So when I do like try to like experiment and say, you know what, like I'm going to get uncomfortable and try to experiment by going out, it's always like, it's not fear of missing out. It's more of like fear of missing out, like doing me, like being myself. So it's just like you lose if you do that. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I'm struggling with. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this, is like, how have you kind of been able to find true enjoyment? And I know you talked about going on hikes, and you talked about going skiing and going traveling, and I'm all for that too. But I think when it comes down to it, just me being around like-minded people like yourself who have a purpose, have a why, and are always looking to keep improving themselves, that's where I really find my enjoyment. It doesn't matter what time it is, or it doesn't matter what location it is, but it just matters that I'm being present in the moment, just like we're being present right now. So.
For me, I've definitely come down to the whole quality over quantity. So I would much rather have, and although most of my connections and my best girlfriends have since moved away from Denver, or I moved away from Kentucky, I still have those few really quality relationships, and I cherish those more than having 100 acquaintances in Denver. So, and I'm much more, I don't want to go out to happy hour and bitch and moan about people's work day or whatever it may be. I would rather have those couple connections where we're uplifted and we're motivated and excited and challenging each other and growing. And that's just where I've come to.
Yeah, no, it's really difficult for me, because this is something that I'm really, really working on, and I really had to improve at the end of Q1. Is like, although that is the case, that I don't want to be there and I don't want to be around that life, that's the life that makes them happy, and that's the life that they've chosen. So it's like really hard for me, and I know we've discussed this a little bit, and we're both on the same page, is that we want them to be happy too. We want everyone to be happy, but just kind of taking that judgment from my mind has been a big struggle. And now that I've kind of gotten over it, it's been really really fulfilling as well, because that was something that was holding me back and holding them back. And now it's just keep our distance. And then whenever I can help them, and whenever they can help me. So.
Yeah. So I want to touch a little bit more about travel, because I think I've learned a bunch about myself. But what do you think, like, maybe what are your 3 biggest takeaways from all these travels? And you've been to so many countries and done so much, but what are your 3 biggest takeaways?
Sure. So I would say like the first one is definitely just getting out of your comfort zone is just so rewarding and so fulfilling. And you never know like who you're going to meet or what you're going to learn. So just by getting out of that extra comfort zone, it's just the first step. And it doesn't need to be like, you're still in a safe environment. If you're on a plane, you're staying in a hostel, or staying in a hotel, like on the news, they talk about how everything's so dangerous. But if you're in a safe environment and you're putting yourself out there, you're going to be very alert. You're going to be aware, and it's going to help you find yourself. It's going to help you be yourself. And that's the first thing, is just getting out of your comfort zone is something that I've learned about travel that's helped me. I think the second thing is about the role of preparation, and this is like a life goal too. But when you're traveling, things are always going to go wrong, and things are not going to go your way. They're not going to go as scheduled. So
Yeah.
by being as prepared as you possibly can, whether it's with like alternatives, whether it's with maybe bring a bathing suit or something, whatever it may be, just being prepared for every single moment mentally and physically is something that, and in life too, like you never know when that chance is going to knock. So just this preparation of always being prepared to go with the flow and do something that's different is definitely like number 2 for sure. And then number 3 is that I think meeting people just create, like you were saying before, it's like just never be afraid to get out of your comfort zone and talk to people. Like just meeting people is some of the most fulfilling and created the most epic experiences for me, that I just ended up randomly talking to someone about their day or where they're from rather than sitting on my iPhone. And that's created us to do some crazy events, whether it's a hike or this or that. So it's just like the third thing is just meeting new people is one of the most rewarding things. And when you really just kind of have a meaningful conversation with someone, and it really helps you in life in the long run of just communicating with everyone. Why not tell someone to have a great day, or why not smile at someone? Because maybe like it's not going to work out and they just go on their day and that's that, and they're not in the mood. But if they are in the mood, you never know the impact you could have on that person just for a little time, whether it's while you're traveling or whether you're at home. So those would be the 3 things: getting out of your comfort zone, preparing, and then just the value of meeting new people and how that
Yeah.
helps you kind of be comfortable within yourself and gives you confidence.
That's awesome. And I kind of want to touch on, so I'm leaving in a couple weeks actually for a 5-week trip to Europe. And this is so outside my comfort zone, which I'm all about. Like the more you go outside your comfort zone, the better. But I'm also well, I definitely used to be a type A planner, and I want to have an organized itinerary, and I want to know where I'm going to be and when I'm going to be there. But I'm trying something new for this trip. Because I know things aren't going to go as planned, and I want to be open to, let's say if I do meet somebody and maybe I go that way. But I heard this story. It was during one of my travels in the last couple of years, but this girl, her and her sister, I believe they went to Europe, but they had their detailed itinerary written out in their journal notebook. Everything they were going, all their, and guess what? They lost that. I think it was on one of their first flights or whatever. It was left in an airport. So their detailed itinerary was now gone. And she said it ended up being the most amazing trip because, they let the plan go out the window and they just let life happen. So that's what I'm trying for my Europe trip, and we'll see how it goes.
No, I couldn't agree more with that. I think that you need to kind of relate it to your own comfort zone. And I really do admire getting out of your comfort zone. I think that getting too uncomfortable is something that could be dangerous in terms of your growth and also just your enjoyment and improvement from the situation. So I would say that when you get a flight there, you seem like a very like go with the flow girl. So you could like anything goes with the flow there. But for me, commitments is like the worst, like it strangles my freedom and it's the worst possible thing to do. And that's why when you just go with the flow, the amount of people that you meet, the amount of things that you'll end up exploring, because then it doesn't become about what if we do this or that. It just becomes about you living in the present moment and being free, doing whatever you feel like in the moment. And whether that's you saying, I want to stay in the hotel for the day, I don't want to be running around all day, or whether it's you want to be traveling, doing a 20-mile hike around the city, whatever that is, it doesn't matter where it is. It's about your experience with who you're around and how you're feeling. It's not about telling your friends that you saw this castle in Germany or this and that. So it's kind of like all about the experience, not the destination. It's kind of like the enjoying the journey of life, not the destination. So I think that
Right.
I'm so excited for you because that's like the best way to travel, I feel like. And things are going to go wrong, but you're going to say, you know what? Well, life goes on. So
Roll with the punches, right?
exactly. So
I like to end each of my podcast interviews with what I call rapid fire questions. So whatever comes to mind, just go with it.
sure.
What is a quote or motto that you live by?
Sure. If people aren't laughing at your dreams, then your dreams aren't big enough.
Oh, I like that. Um, are you currently reading any books?
Yes, I actually love reading on vacation. I'm reading this book right here, The Spontaneous Fulfillment, or The Spontaneous Fulfillment of Desire, Harnessing the Infinite Power of Coincidence by Deepak Chopra.
Oh, what is that one about?
It's all about how everything happens for a reason and everything's meant to be, and how to find those signals to just continue to move forward with the pieces that are placed on your kind of journey.
Oh, I love that. Love him actually as well. I want to end on a high note. So, what is maybe a piece of advice you would give to somebody that is itching to travel but kind of a little unsure?
Sure. So I think that it will be the best decision of your life, or I know it will be the best decision of your life, because at first it might be, and once again, if you are having so many like restraints about traveling, then you know what, it might be the best time to just book a hotel, or to book an itinerary. That's totally fine. But just getting out of your kind of, not bubble, but getting out of your comfort zone is going to be the most rewarding, fulfilling experience. And when you are going to travel, do it for yourself, and do it for just being able to maximize your present moment in time by yourself, not just for the pictures or for the destination or for telling people. And it's going to be the most amazing thing ever. So,
And one key, which I think we both agree on, put your phone away.
yes,
Yeah.
definitely something that I've been really kind of investing in is this concept called invisible gratification, where wherever we do have an event, we just we enjoy it without our phones. So there's no stress, there's no worries at all. We're completely, fully flowing and present in the moment. And then after, we can take as many pictures as we want and try to minimize that time. But definitely the experiences that we create, we want to have no distractions or no anything. So.
That's awesome. Brandon, thank you so much for joining me on today's episode and sharing your stories.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited to see what happens on your Europe trip. I'm sure it's going to be an awesome adventure, and just best of luck to the listeners. Definitely just don't be afraid to get out of your comfort zone, whether it's a 20-minute hike away from your house or wherever it is. There's always ways to get out of your comfort zone. It doesn't need to be traveling, but I think traveling is an awesome way to get out of your comfort zone. So whatever is in your kind of realm of comfort.
Agreed.